Asked to come in for an 8 a.m. meeting. My Gen Z new hire said, ugh, sorry, I can't make it. I have a workout class. Should this be allowed?
My visceral reaction was, are you f***ing kidding me?
You just started this job.
Yeah, Natalie. So we can talk about this more later, but I'm going to address this now. It was made very clear during the interview process that the working hours for this position is between 9 to 5 p.m. Eastern time, and I am on Eastern time. I made that very clear with HR because I have commitments outside of work. I go to the gym, I work out because I care about my health. Sure, I can make a sacrifice to go to an 8 a.m. meeting had I known at least a week before that I needed to go at 8 a.m., not a day. Okay, let's just say I skipped the gym. Two things. When can I expect you to reimburse me for my class? And two, are you going to be paying me from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. or at the very least, let me leave at 4 p.m.? Natalie, if your answer to both of those are no, then there's no discussion needed. I will see you at 9 o'clock today. Also, I sent an email to HR about this and sent them the link to that TikTok video. So, just to make things clear.
Oh, what's up, guys? It's Bad Decisions, where we watch people make
bad decisions.
It's your boy Sherm.
It's your man Jay.
My first question is this one meeting, as in like an emergency meeting? Because he said it was last minute, so that leads me to think that maybe it was a chaotic day or something, and they had to like call everybody in at the last minute. Or is this like his new schedule?
No, I think in a video he mentioned that they told him like with 24-hour notice or something like that.
Yeah, okay, so that makes me think that it's an emergency meeting.
Yeah.
Because if it is an emergency meeting, I'm completely on the employer side. Because the way that I'm looking at it is like, bro, it's one meeting.
It's just a meeting.
It's one gym class you're missing. You'll live. Like, it's just one of those things that comes with work. Sometimes you gotta come an hour early. Sometimes you gotta leave an hour late. Yep. It's to be expected. I get it. Listen, if it's every day, then they should be paying you. You should be compensated. But if it's not,
my initial reaction was the same as the guy on that video.
Yeah.
Very visceral, very like, this guy's so entitled. He's so bratty.
You're like you're a little brat. You gotta have this, you gotta have this.
Once I got past that initial emotional rush, I was like, okay, let me think about it from both sides, okay? And I thought, okay, from the employer side, you want to hire talent who will go above and beyond the call of duty.
Yeah.
Who will not prioritize work, because prioritize work in a sense.
Yeah, that's what they want. Every employer wants the star employee.
The star employee.
Yeah.
Now you have to pay for that star employee. Unless you get lucky, you get him for like a rookie deal. Like in the NFL, you got him on a rookie contract. But to really get that kind of talent, you got to pay that kind of talent. Especially, and it also depends on the job market, blah, blah, blah. But yes, every employer wants to have that star employee who's going to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like an unwritten rule where you're kind of expected to, as an employee, be flexible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially to millennial or like older generations. It's kind of like an unwritten rule. Your employer asks you to do something like that, you do it. I would do it. But then I thought about the employee side too. And he brought some good points up, right? Like, okay, you told this man, as far as I understand, his working hours are between 9 and 5 p.m. Therefore, if he schedules something to recur before work, he's not in the wrong for that. He's like, I have to be at work by 9. As long as he's at work by the time he's supposed to be, he should be good. That's how. So I see both sides of it from that perspective.
But I also have another question: is this salary or is this hourly? Because if
question.
this is salary, salary. If this is salary,
Mm-hmm.
then I mean you're not hour to hour, and it really doesn't matter. But I'm assuming that he's working hourly because he's making such a big deal out of it.
I agree with that. Now, if you're exempt, right? So if you're salary exempt, you, like you're saying, you're expected to just get the job done. You're expected to work, let's say, 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Those 40 hours aren't necessarily confined to just 9 to 5 each day. You're right about that. At the same time, with that being said, if something is, let's say this guy, for example, had every 8 o'clock every morning, he went to like drop off medicine for his grandmother, his elderly grandmother who, I don't know for why she couldn't get it herself, or, he went and dropped it off to her every morning at 8 a.m. And so he couldn't do it for that reason. Is he wrong for that? Or is this story bigger because he said, I gotta go and get my Zen in, or whatever it was? Like, what? I guess context matters.
Yeah. I mean, I think another big factor is his attitude with it. Is that you could tell that this wasn't a dire thing. It's not like he needed a heart transplant.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of like, "Where's my gym class?"
Yeah. It's kind of entitled.
Yeah.
Very entitled. Yeah.
Entitled princess.
Gen Z, right? Most likely their parents were probably what? Gen X. Sometimes their parents are millennials, but most likely they saw their parents work their entire life with very little payoff, right? Mm-hmm. And as the generations have kind of come down, you're getting less and less from your job. Like, think about it. Back when your grandparents were born, they had one job. They're good with their one job. They can make a family. They can buy a house. They can buy a car.
And they had pensions.
Yeah, and they had. I'm about to get to that, right?
Okay.
And then what happened? Generation X, it was like you got to step down, so you couldn't do it all from one job, right? Because there are people that are working multiple jobs back then, right? But you got pensions, you got rewards for working longer on the job, right? But then what happened with the next generation? Those saw that they're not getting pensions anymore, right?
Mhm.
So now, what did millennials start doing? They started job hopping every 2 years. Now that's the main thing. Now people look at you crazy if you don't job hop every 2 years.
Yeah.
And millennials valued having more vacations, right?
Yeah.
And then now you're at Gen Z, where it seems like they're not worried about the job at all. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like Gen X was kind of like, okay, let's have a little bit. Okay, you gave us a pension, all right. Millennials are like, okay, I just let me have a little bit more breathing room, right? Let me have more vacations. I'll leave every 2 years because there's no reason to really stay. And Gen Z is just like, I just don't care.
I'll add to that too. Unless you
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is 100% correct. And on top of it, I think that the economy also has shifted. Not just employers, which all ties together, obviously, but it's also the economy. This is what I mean. You mentioned earlier how baby boomers and even some older Gen Xers, they knew that by retirement they should be okay because
they'd
of
be fine.
pensions, because of lower cost, because of lower cost of living. Homes were the delta between the cost of a home and how much you make was a much smaller gap.
Yeah.
All these different things. Now I know cost of education much lower.
Astronomical.
So I know people now, even personally, who are in so much debt, student loan debt, who think they'll never be able to afford a house, who their pay is not keeping up with expensive things around them. You kind of lose hope a bit. And you're kind of like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to make it anyways. I'm going to enjoy my life now.
Yeah.
Because like some people say, okay, save for retirement, plan for the future you. But it's hard to plan for the future you when you're like, the future looks so bleak and abysmal. You're like, well, I don't know what the future me is going to even... I don't know what the future looks like. I'll probably never get out of this debt. I'll probably never be able to buy a house. I'll probably never be able to live the American dream. I'm going to enjoy myself now. I'm going to take the vacations. I'm not going to slave for my job who's not looking out for me. Right?
Yeah.
So...
But let's also be honest too, right?
Mhm.
Because the thing about Gen Z is that a lot of times Gen Z has a hard time getting hired after college.
That's another part of it.
Because a lot of jobs are like, well, I want experience. How are you going to have experience coming out of college? I mean, you have an internship, right? But then there's some jobs who don't accept that. So some Gen Z people didn't even have an opportunity to get to a point where they have a job that they can complain about.
Yeah, it's true.
So I listen, I definitely get it. Because I think that, like, especially if you're one of those people from Gen Z and you were like a COVID kid, going into COVID, you could have bought a car if you would have tried. Like, if you spent 2 years, you worked hard, you could be able to afford a decent car. You might get something close to new. Now a car is like $40K.
Yeah. Well, I will say this too. I have to put some of the onus on more so the parents of these Gen Zs than the Gen Z themselves.
Yeah.
All right. So college was sold as a panacea. Like if you go to college, you're going to be okay. Which I get the underlying premise of it, but truth be told, going to college in and of itself is not enough. You have to go for the right things. What do I mean? For example, we know that Indian Americans and Asian Americans, although technically Indians are classified as Asians, they are doing very well in terms of socioeconomic outcomes.
Yeah.
Why is that? There's a high concentration of these individuals in STEM. They're highly concentrated in areas in healthcare, in areas that are going to make you money, or that are highly likely to make you money so that you can afford to do certain things that other people can't. So if you go to school for, no offense, I went to school for business, okay, which I put that in that bucket sometimes, unless you're going for like finance or accounting or economics sometimes. It goes along with the stuff that I would say, like history. If you're going to school for liberal arts,
you're done.
Maybe reconsider that.
You're done.
All right? Because now you're going into debt for something that's not going to give you that return on investment. So Gen Z has to take some responsibility for that. And their parents, because sometimes they don't know any better.
Exactly.
So,
but here's the thing, too, though, that I will also say is that, because, see, like, the way that I grew up, I had older relatives, older cousins who were, like, millennials, right? So they were born in the 80s. Some of them were born in the early 90s, right? And they had a degree. I'm trying to think. I think I had one cousin who had just a general degree. It might have been general studies. It might have been communicate. It might have been something in BS, right? but they were still able to get a decent job because back then the bar was so much lower. You just needed a degree.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying. Did they
Yeah.
get a job in their field that they studied?
No, absolutely
that's
not.
what I thought.
Absolutely
That's
not.
what I thought.
Absolutely not.
Right.
But the barrier to entry was a lot lower. All you needed it, and that was okay. Now, employees are way harsher now.
Yeah, I would say so. And people like that, like even myself, kind of got, I don't know if I call it luck. It's not really luck. You create your own luck. But
Yeah.
the path isn't as clear. If you go to school to be a mechanical engineer, you know when you graduate, you can go look for a job at mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
If you go to degree in communications, I don't know. It might be a little less straightforward as to where you're going to go. And the barrier to entry is going to be a bit higher, like you said. There's going to be more people concentrated to try to get those jobs, and there might be fewer of those jobs, and they're a little more ambiguous. So there's a whole bunch of things that go along with it. Then you go get a history degree. What are you going to do with it? No offense.
Yeah.
I'm picking on history majors, but aside from teaching and maybe if you get a lucky job on like the History Channel, I don't know. Like, what are you going to do with history? Like, that's what I'm saying. So we have to be more, and that's just that one area.
Yeah, you gotta be more practical.
You have to be practical. Like,
and I think that loops around back to this whole conversation is that I don't think there's a problem with him wanting to have a balance between his work
correct.
and his social life,
Right.
but or his health life or whatever you want to say it. But he's just not practical because it's the gym. You can just go to the gym at 5 p.m. like the rest of us, bro.
Yeah, he's comes across as entitled. I will give
Yeah.
you that for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Even his response, I was like, bro. He's like, I sent it to HR. I was like, bro, what the
Yeah,
heck?
I know. And listen, he seems. Oh, yeah, I would say he seems young. He's Gen Z. He's
Yeah.
young. They don't realize that you got to put your reps in. Now, once you develop yourself and you become an employee who has that, like right now, there's something called leverage.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're just out of school, your leverage is very low
It's
compared
nothing.
to the employer. It's nothing.
Nothing.
So you have to do certain things that you might not want to do because you have no leverage.
Yeah.
But once you build up your skills and you put yourself in a position to where you're an asset to that employer or just that market in general, now you have more leverage. Now you have more flexibility. But you got to put your time in.
Yeah.
And, it seems like maybe Gen Z doesn't want to do that. And that's something I think that even millennials understand to an extent. I know we started to get to that whole
Yeah.
work-life balance is over everything. But yeah.
Ultimately, I'm going to say he made a bad decision because he could have possibly gotten fired, especially if he sent it to HR. What are you thinking?
I think he made a bad decision because he put his face online about this. Some things I think you don't do. Like, did they say who the person was when they were talking about?
I don't know, because listen, we only saw the clip, so I don't even know what podcast this is even from.
I don't know the podcast either.
Yeah.
But let's say I'm gonna assume that they didn't say the name of the employee.
Yeah.
Therefore, they were just telling a story that happened.
And
he saw it and said, "Oh no, I'm gonna say something," which is stupid. Because now, if you're out there, if I'm an employee and I'm looking to hire someone and I happen to see this, somehow,
I see his face on there. Like, no.
Dumb. Come on, man. Be smarter than that.
Over an hour meeting.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
It's dumb. That's why I said it sounds like he's gonna have this meeting like once a month.
Yeah, and again, you're doing at 9, the meeting's at 8. Suck it up, Buttercup. Go in there, do the meeting. Maybe they will let you go up for it. Now they should compensate you for it.
Yeah, no. I always believe you should be compensated.
Especially if you're non-exempt.
Let's not get that twisted. You should definitely be compensated.
But you made a point though. If you're salaried,
yeah, you gotta go in. It is what it is.
Is what it is. But if you're hourly, there's laws against it anyways. Well, anyways, so yeah, I think overall bad decision for this guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're asking him to come 2 hours early, which is ridiculous. But nonetheless, I'd say he made a bad decision, guys. Decision makers, let us know what you think. Do you think he made a good decision? Leave a like, leave a comment. If you think he's out of his mind, leave a like and leave a comment. All right, guys, we're out.